Yo, what's good, Untold Bars fam? You know we dig deep. We peel back the layers. We search for the pulse beneath the pavement. And today, we're going back, way back, before the platinum plaques, before the stadium tours, before the global phenomenon. We're going back to a time when the Bronx was burning, literally. A borough ravaged by neglect, poverty, and despair. But in the ashes of that struggle, a fire was lit. A new voice emerged. A culture was born. This isn't just music history. This is a story of resilience, innovation, and the undeniable power of the human spirit to create something beautiful out of nothing. This is the untold story of hip-hop's genesis. Buckle up. To understand how hip-hop started, you have to understand where it started. The South Bronx in the 1970s was a war zone. Government neglect, white flight, landlord abandonment, and rampant arson had turned neighborhoods into rubble. Unemployment soared. Crime was a daily reality. This wasn't just a tough neighborhood, it was a forgotten one. Think about it. When your environment offers no escape, when your future looks bleak, where do you find joy? Where do you find identity? For the youth of the Bronx, especially Black and Latino kids, traditional avenues were closed. Sports, school, often underfunded, under-resourced. They needed something else, something of their own. This desperation, this need for an outlet, for expression, for community, it was the fertile ground from which hip-hop would blossom. It was a cry from the concrete jungle, a search for rhythm in the chaos. Every cultural revolution needs a catalyst. For hip-hop, that catalyst was a Jamaican immigrant named Clive Campbell. We know him as DJ Kool Herc. He brought with him the vibrant sound system culture of Jamaica, where DJs would play records, toast, talk over the music, and get the crowd hyped. Herc noticed something. At his legendary block parties on Sedgwick Avenue, he saw that the crowd went wild during the instrumental breaks of funk, soul, and rock records. Those short sections where the drums and percussion took center stage, that's when the dancers truly came alive. So Herc had an idea. Why let those moments of pure energy end? Using two turntables, he developed what he called the merry-go-round technique. He'd play the break from one record, then, as it ended, he'd cue up the same break on the other turntable, extending it indefinitely. This wasn't just mixing, this was isolation. This was creating a continuous loop of the most potent, dance-inducing part of the song. It was revolutionary. He wasn't just playing records, he was creating a new sonic landscape specifically designed for dance. The birth of the breakbeat. It was simple yet profound. It created a foundation, a rhythmic canvas on which an entire culture would be built. The dancers, known as b-boys and b-girls, gravitated to these extended breaks, creating new forms of movement. The block party became the laboratory, and the breakbeat was the experiment that changed everything. With Herc's innovation, the floodgates opened. The breakbeat provided the pulse, and around that pulse, four distinct yet interconnected elements of hip-hop culture began to solidify. While Herc laid the foundation, others built the skyscraper. Grandmaster Flash, a technical wizard, refined Herc's methods. He introduced sophisticated mixing techniques, the quick mix theory, and most crucially, the use of the mixer's crossfader to blend and cut between records with unparalleled precision. He was a scientist of sound. And then there was Grand Wizard Theodore. Legend says he discovered the scratch technique by accident, pausing a record and moving it back and forth. But that accident became an art form, adding a whole new dimension of sound to the DJ's arsenal. The turntable wasn't just a playback device, it was an instrument.
And we can't forget Afrika Bambaataa. He wasn't just a DJ, he was a visionary, a former gang leader who channeled that energy into positive cultural expression. He founded the Zulu Nation, promoting peace, love, unity, and having fun. He collected music from every genre, every corner of the globe, solidifying the idea that hip-hop was a universal culture. These three, Herc, Flash, Bambaataa, became the holy trinity of hip-hop DJing.
What's a party without a host? Initially, the MCs, masters of ceremony, were hype men. Their job was to introduce the DJ, keep the crowd energized, and announce what was happening. Herc's original MC was Kool Herc, but soon, these hype men started doing more. They started dropping rhymes over the breaks, simple at first, call and response patterns, then more complex narratives. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, particularly Mel Mel, elevated the craft. Mel Mel's powerful delivery and insightful lyrics on tracks like The Message proved that MCing could be more than just party chants. It could be social commentary, a voice for the voiceless. The MC became the storyteller, the poet, the street reporter. They embodied the confidence, the swagger, and the lyrical dexterity that would define rap music for decades to come. This was the birth of rap as we know it. If the DJ laid the beat and the MC dropped the bars, the B-boys and B-girls brought the visual spectacle. Short for break boys and break girls, they were the dancers who moved to Herc's breakbeats. This wasn't just dancing, it was a physical dialogue with the music. It combined elements of martial arts, gymnastics, and even capoeira. Crews would battle, not with fists, but with moves, competing for respect on the dance floor. It was a creative outlet, a way to channel aggression into art, and a powerful symbol of self-expression. And visually, the culture exploded onto the urban canvas. Graffiti writers, often called graph artists or taggers, transformed the drab, neglected walls and subway cars of the city into vibrant galleries. From simple tags to elaborate, colorful pieces, graffiti was a defiant declaration. We are here, we exist, and we will make our mark. It was about reclaiming space, about identity, and about aesthetic rebellion. For years, hip-hop was an underground phenomenon, primarily confined to the Bronx and then slowly spreading to other boroughs. It was a word-of-mouth culture, spread through tapes, park jams, and neighborhood parties. But eventually, the sound was too infectious, too powerful to stay contained. The first spark of commercialization came in 1979 with Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang. Now, there's debate. Many OGs felt it was a watered-down version, even stolen from Grandmaster Caz's rhymes. But undeniable fact, it was the first hip-hop song to truly cross over. It blasted onto radio waves, introduced millions to the sound, and proved that rap could sell. Suddenly, labels were paying attention. Other artists like Curtis Blow, The Breaks, and Blondie Rapture further pushed the sound into the mainstream, showing its versatility and appeal. And then came the films. Wild Style in 1982 and Beat Street in 1984 weren't just movies, they were cultural documentaries. They showcased all four elements, DJing, MCing, b-boying, and graffiti, to a global audience. They educated, they inspired, and they solidified hip-hop's identity in the popular consciousness. From the Bronx to the big screen, the culture was officially on the map. What started as a coping mechanism in the forgotten streets of the Bronx became a global phenomenon. It transcended language barriers, economic divides, and geographical boundaries. Hip-hop gave a voice to the voiceless. It provided an alternative to violence for frustrated youth. It fostered creativity, entrepreneurship, and community. It built an industry from scratch. It taught us that you can sample and repurpose the old to create something entirely new and visionary. It taught us about hustle, about authenticity, about speaking your truth. Think about it, a movement born from poverty, from neglect, from literal ashes.
It wasn't handed down, it was built from the ground up, by the youth, for the youth. It's a testament to human ingenuity. The roots are deep, complex, and profound. Every beat drop today, every rhyme spit, every dance move, every piece of street art, it all traces back to those block parties in the Bronx, to Herc, Flash, Bambaataa, to the B-boys, B-girls, and the taggers, to a generation that refused to be silenced, that found rhythm in chaos and built a culture that truly changed the world. And that, my friends, is just the beginning of the story, the genesis, the raw, unfiltered birth of hip-hop. It's a powerful reminder that true innovation often comes from the margins, from the overlooked, from the desperate need for expression. What aspects of early hip-hop fascinated you the most? Who do you think was the unsung hero of the early days? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your take. If you dug this deep dive, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to Untold Bars, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next journey into the heart of rap culture. We've got so many more untold stories to uncover. Until then, keep the culture alive. Peace.